The doors were wide open, coffee cups still warm on the dash. Laura's purse tucked under the seat like she'd be right back. But Michael and Laura vanished, leaving behind everything ordinary except their lives. A small town where everyone knows your name, where front doors stay unlocked, and neighbors wave from porches. But in 1984, two bright lights in that community, Michael Houghton and Laura Lee Sanders, vanished without a trace. Days later, their bodies were found in a place so ordinary, it froze the town's blood. What happened that night? And why, decades later, does the answer still slip through the cracks of justice? If you passed Michael on the street, he'd wave like you were old friends. If Laura served your pie at the diner, she'd remember how you took your coffee. They were real people, not just victims. And that's where this horror begins. Michael Houghton wasn't just a 22-year-old mechanic. He was the guy who'd crawl under your Buick at 9 p.m. because your kid needed the car for school tomorrow. Didn't matter if you couldn't pay. You'd find him in that garage, radio crackling old rock tunes, grease smeared like war paint across his cheek. His laugh, so loud it rattled the toolboxes. Friends say he carried wildflowers in his truck glove box, just in case he saw Laura. Laura Lee Sanders was more than a 19-year-old dreaming of nursing school. She was the one who'd refill your mug at the Sunrise Diner before you asked. Memorized orders. Mr. Henderson, black coffee. Rye toast. No butter. Her tips? Kept in an old cookie tin labeled stethoscope fund. That faded black Sabbath tee she wore? A thrift store find Michael teased her about. You can't even play guitar, he'd say. She'd just smile. But you can. They grew up 3 blocks apart. Built tree forts. Shared skin knees. Then prom night. Michael in a borrowed suit. Laura in her mama's lace dress. That's when everything shifted. You'd see them now, parked by Cedar Creek, his arm around her, her head on his shoulder. Laura scribbling anatomy notes. Michael sketching engine parts. Planning a life, a little house. Maybe kids. Definitely a dog. Ordinary? Yes. Forgettable? Never. Because on October 17th, 1984, the garage went quiet. The diner booth sat empty, and that future turned to dust. Laura locked the diner door at 8:03 p.m. The neon open sign flickered off behind her. She'd worked a double shift. Her feet ached. The air smelled like rain and fried onions. In her apron pocket, $12 in tips. Enough for half a textbook. She'd promised her mom she'd call when her shift ended. She didn't. Michael was already waiting. His blue Ford pickup idled under the street lamp. He'd spent the day rebuilding a carburetor. Grease streaked his forearms. On the passenger seat, 2 root beer floats sweating in paper cups. Laura's favorite. He'd bought them at the drive-in. The radio played Springsteen, Dancing in the Dark. He turned it down when he saw her smile. 8:17 p.m. Old Mrs. Gable saw them pass her porch. Michael's arms slung over Laura's shoulder. Laura's head leaned against his. The truck windows were down. They were laughing, headed east, toward Cedar Creek. Like always, Cedar Creek wasn't special. Just a dirt pull-off near a bend in the river. Weeds grew tall. Crickets sang loud. But it was their spot, where they'd gone since they were kids skipping stones. Where Michael asked her to prom. Where Laura talked about nursing school under the stars. That night, the sky was bruised purple. Storm clouds gathering. But they didn't care. 8:42 p.m. Hank Morrison pumped gas at the Texaco. He saw the blue Ford rumble past. No headlights on yet. Michael waved. Laura lifted her root beer float in a mock toast. Hank waved back. He was the last person to see them alive. 9:30 p.m. Laura's mom, Diane, set the phone back in its cradle. She always calls. The pie she'd saved for Laura sat untouched on the counter. Apple, with a lattice crust. Laura's favorite. Diane told herself, the line's busy. She'll call soon. 10:15 p.m. Michael's dad, Frank, paced the garage. Michael was never late on Thursdays. Thursdays were laundry night. Frank needed his coveralls washed for the morning shift. He called the diner. Left hours ago. The night manager said. Frank called Laura's house. Diane answered. Her voice cracked. They're not with you. Midnight. Rain lashed the rooftops. Thunder shook the windows. Frank's pickup tore down Maple Street. Headlights cut through the downpour. He skidded into the Cedar Creek pull-off. Empty. Just mud and darkness. He screamed Michael's name. The wind swallowed it. Diane called the sheriff. Deputy Miller yawned when he answered. Another missing kid's report. Probably parked somewhere. Steamed up the windows. But Diane's voice, raw with terror, got him out of bed. Check the creek. He radioed his partner. Probably just stuck in the mud. 12:47 a.m. Deputy Miller's cruiser fishtailed into the pull-off. Frank Houghton stood in the rain, soaked to the skin, shouting into the trees. The deputy's flashlight beam swept the area. Then it froze. Michael's truck, 50 yards from the riverbank, parked crooked, driver's door hanging wide open, passenger door wide open too, like someone left in a desperate hurry, or was dragged. Deputy Miller approached slowly. Rain drummed on the truck roof. His boots sank in the mud. The headlights were off. Keys gone. But inside, Laura's purse lay on the floor. Open. Lipstick. Hairbrush. A photo of her and Michael at the county fair. All there. Her waitress apron, neatly folded on the seat. 2 root beer floats melted into sticky puddles in the cup holders. And the smell. Wet earth. Rain. And beneath it, something metallic. Faint. But wrong. Deputy Miller radioed for backup. His hand shook. Dawn broke gray and cold. Search dogs arrived. Sniffed the truck seats. Whined. Led handlers into the woods. Down toward the river. The rain had washed away footprints. But not everything. They found Michael's cap, snagged on a blackberry bush, a few yards from the truck. Then Laura's hair tie, pink elastic, broken, like it snapped. Volunteers fanned out. Neighbors, teachers, the mechanic from the next town over. They shouted names until their throats burned. Checked barns, ditches, abandoned wells. Nothing. 3 days passed. Hope curdled into dread. The town held its breath, prayed for a ransom call, a sighting, anything. Then, Thursday morning, a boy walking his dog, a collie named Duke. Duke tugged his leash into a thicket of pines, 2 miles upstream from Cedar Creek. The boy followed and screamed. They were hidden, not buried, just placed, under a fallen oak, covered with branches, like someone didn't have time, or didn't care. Michael lay on his back, his flannel shirt torn, eyes open, staring at the canopy of leaves. Laura curled beside him, her hands stretched out, fingers inches from his, as if she'd been reaching for him when it ended. Their faces were peaceful, but the violence around them screamed. Broken branches, drag marks, dark stains on the leaves. Time stopped. The sheriff's radio crackled. We found them. 3 words that shattered a town. 3 words that started a mystery that's never been solved. The rain came again that afternoon, washing the woods clean, washing away evidence, washing away any chance of knowing what really happened. That Thursday night at Cedar Creek, the blue Ford pickup became a tomb. Police sealed it off, taped it shut, hauled it to the sheriff's garage. For 3 days, they crawled over every inch, vacuumed the floors, scraped the dash, lifted prints from the steering wheel, the door handles, the rearview mirror. Nothing, not a single clear fingerprint, wiped clean, like someone took a rag and erased themselves. The boot print, found 6 feet from where their bodies lay, pressed deep into the soft mud near the fallen oak. Size 11, military tread, the kind with sharp zigzag grooves. Common, too common. Every army surplus store sold them. Half the men in town owned a pair. Farmers, mechanics, hunters, even the sheriff's deputy, who found it, wore size 11 boots. Like finding a needle in a haystack, the lead detective wrote in his notes. Except the haystack is the whole damn county. Then came the whispers. 3 days after the funerals, a bartender named Ray called the tip line. Shaky voice. You gotta hear this. The night before Michael and Laura vanished, a drifter named Carl Digger. Hayes was at Ray's bar. Digger was trouble. Fights. Petty theft. Slept rough in the woods near Cedar Creek. That night, Digger was drunk. Mean drunk. Bragging loud. Teaching pretty boys and their girls some respect. He'd slurred, slamming his beer down. Gonna show 'em what happens when they look down on folks. Did he say names? No. Did he say when? No. Just drunken rage. But the timing? Chilling. They found Digger, sleeping under a railroad bridge 10 miles out of town. Brought him in. Grubby clothes. Smelled of rot and cheap liquor. Size 11 boots? Yes. Military tread? Yes. Where were you Thursday night? The detective demanded. Digger just grinned. Rotten teeth. Around. Alibi? None. But proof? Less than none. No mud on his boots matching the creek bank. No scratches on his hands. No trace of Laura or Michael on his clothes. Just a drunk with a big mouth and boots half the town wore. They held him 48 hours. Let him go. The jacket, found 2 weeks later, a volunteer searcher spotted it, snagged on barbed wire fencing along the old logging road, the back way out of Cedar Creek Woods. Denim, blue, torn at the shoulder, size large, and blood, dark, rusty stains on the left sleeve. Hope surged. Finally, physical evidence. Something that ripped. Something that bled. They bagged it, tagged it, sent it to the state lab. This was 1984. DNA testing? Barely a dream. Science couldn't pull a name from blood back then. Not like today. They could only test the blood type. The blood on the sleeve? Type O. Michael was type O. Laura was type A. Could be Michael's blood. Could be the killer's. Could be from a deer some hunter gutted last month. No way to know. They showed the jacket around town. Ever see this? The diner cook shrugged. Looks like every jean jacket ever. Laura's mom stared at the tear. Not Laura's. Too big. Michael's dad touched the bloodstain. His face went gray. Michael had one like it, lost it fishing last spring. But Michael's jacket? Never found. Could this be it? Maybe. Maybe not. Another dead end. The jacket sat. In an evidence box. On a shelf. In a dusty storage room at the back of the sheriff's office. Years passed. The detective retired. New deputies came. The box got moved. Stacked. Forgotten. 1998. DNA technology arrived. Smaller towns. Limited budgets. Cold cases weren't priority. The jacket stayed in its box. 2005. A rookie deputy found it. Buried under moldy files. Hey Sarge, what's this Cedar Creek box? They sent the jacket to a private lab. Finally, hope flickered again. The call came back a month later. The lab technician sounded tired. Contaminated. How? Moisture had seeped into the box. Years of damp summers. Freezing winters. The blood? Degraded. Broken down. Useless. The denim fibers? Rotted. Nothing usable left. The one piece of evidence that might have cracked the case? Gone. Rusted away by time and neglect. Digger Hayes? Died in a bar fight in Nevada in 1992. Took whatever he knew to his grave. The boot print? The plaster cast they made sat on a shelf, next to the useless jacket. No database to match it to back then. No way to scan it. Compare it. Just a lump of dirty plaster. A shape without a name. So what did they have? A wiped-clean truck. A boot print half the county could have made. A dead drifter who might have been lying. A jacket that might have been Michael's, or might have belonged to the killer, ruined before science could tell. And whispers. Always whispers. This is the agony of a cold case. Not just the horror of the crime. It's the crushing weight of the almost. The clues that almost led somewhere. The technology that almost caught up. The truth that almost, but not quite. The killer didn't just take 2 lives that night. They took the answers, buried them in the mud of Cedar Creek, right beside Michael and Laura. 6 months passed. Spring came to Cedar Creek. Wildflowers pushed through the mud where the truck had been. People tried to breathe again, tried to forget. Then, a phone rang at the sheriff's office. A voice tight with remembered fear. I think I saw him. Charlie Wilkes pumped gas. Night shift at the quick stop off Highway 22. Thursday, October 17th, 1984, around 11:30 p.m. Rain hammering the roof. Wind shaking the sign. A man walked in, not driving, on foot, came out of the woods behind the station. Charlie saw him under the flickering fluorescent lights. Covered in mud, wet leaves stuck to his jeans. Boots caked thick, like he'd been wading through a swamp. Military tread, size 11. Charlie noticed because the man tracked muck all over the clean floor. Pack of Marlboros. The man mumbled, wouldn't look up, kept his head down, hood pulled low, face in shadow. Charlie handed him the cigarettes. That's when he saw it, on the man's right sleeve, near the cuff. A dark smear. Still damp. Blood. The man paid. Not with bills. With coins. Dug deep into his pocket. Pennies. Nickels. Dimes. Counted them slowly onto the counter. Like every second in the light was torture. Charlie bagged the cigarettes. Handed them over. The man grabbed them. Turned. Vanished back into the rain and the trees. Creeped me out. Charlie told the sheriff 6 months later. But with the storm, the murders, I figured I was jumpy. Tried to forget it. Couldn't. 3 faces. That's what the police sketch artist drew from Charlie's shaky description. Hooded eyes. Strong jaw. Late 20s to early 30s. Average height. Lean build. Could be anyone. Could be 3 specific men. Suspect 1, Rory Jensen, the troubled farmhand, worked and fought at the Thompson Dairy down the road. Fired 2 weeks before the murders for threatening the foreman. Teach you a lesson, he'd screamed. Rory slept in barns. Knew the backwoods around Cedar Creek like his own hands. Vanished the day after Michael and Laura were found. Left behind a duffel bag of clothes, including size 11 boots with military tread. They tracked Rory to a bus station in Ohio. Brought him back. Where were you that Thursday night? Hitchhiking. Didn't get far. Slept in a ditch. Alibi? None. Proof? Less. His boots? Clean. No blood. No mud matching the creek. Just a bitter man with no place to be. He skipped town again. For good. Suspect 2. Big Rig Roy. A trucker. Logs showed his rig past the Cedar Creek Way station at 9:15 p.m. that night. Heading west. The quick stop was east. Could he have doubled back? Parked his rig? Walked through the woods? Possible. Why? No one knew. Roy hauled livestock. Hard face. Harder eyes. Wore size 11 boots. Military tread. Police found him in Nebraska. Bought gas that night. Ate a burger. Drove straight through. Logbook proves it. The logbook did show miles driven. Time stamped. Tight. Very tight. Almost too perfect. Did you stop? Walk. Get muddy? Nope. Cab to diner. Diner to cab. Raining cats and dogs. No witnesses contradicted him. Just a feeling. A logbook that felt rehearsed. They let him roll. Suspect 3, David Houghton. Michael's cousin. David. Same sandy hair. Same build. Same age. Grew up together. Fished Cedar Creek as kids. But David owed Michael money. $500. A loan for a busted transmission. Michael needed it back. Laura needed books for nursing school. They argued. Loud. Outside the hardware store. 3 days before the murders. You'll get it when I got it. David yelled. Laura needs it now. Dave. Michael shot back. Witnesses saw it. Felt the heat. David wore size 11 boots. Military tread. Always. They brought David in. Quiet. Polite. Smelled of cheap soap. Worked at the lumberyard now. Where were you that Thursday night? David? Home. Watching TV. Alone. Alibi? None. Boots. Cleaned em Sunday. Like always. No mud. No blood. No scratches. Just a cousin grieving. Or pretending to. 3 men. 1 drifter who vanished. 1 trucker with a perfect alibi. 1 cousin with no alibi at all. All denied it. All matched the shadow in the quick stop. All had means. Opportunity. Motive? Rory had rage. Roy had mystery. David had debt. And family shame. The sheriff leaned back in his chair. Case files spread like a bad hand of cards. Rory. Gone. Probably dead in a ditch somewhere. Roy. Rolling down some highway. Untouchable. David. Still here. Bagging groceries at the Piggly Wiggly. Smiling at neighbors. Living 3 streets from Laura's old house. No proof. Just Charlie Wilkes' memory of damp coins and a bloodstain. Just a feeling in the gut that one of these men walked out of the woods that night and walked back into the world. Unseen. Unknown. That's the ghost. Not a phantom. Not a story. A real man. Breathing. Walking. Maybe still here. He bought cigarettes. He paid with change. He left blood on a counter. And then, he put on a face. Became a farmer. A driver. A cousin. Became invisible. The truth didn't vanish. It put on boots. It learned to smile. It's still out there, passing you on the street. Maybe right now. It's not just the violence. Not just 2 young lives stolen. Many cases have that. What haunts us about Michael and Laura is how it happened. And where? Cedar Creek wasn't wilderness. It was a backyard. A place for picnics. For skipping stones. For teenagers stealing kisses away from porch lights. Someone knew that. Knew the pull-off hidden by oaks. Knew the sound of the river-covered voices. Knew the old logging road to vanish down. This wasn't luck. It was familiarity. Think about that. The killer didn't stumble upon them. They knew Michael and Laura went there. Thursday nights. Like clockwork. Root beer floats. Sunset watching. They knew they'd be alone. They knew no headlights would come down that dirt track after dark. They knew the town's rhythm. It's trust. It's quiet. And they used it. Like a weapon. That's the horror. It wasn't some monster from the city. Some snarling stranger passing through. It was a face. A face you might have seen buying nails at the hardware store. Or filling a milk bottle at dawn on a porch. Or nodding hello in the church pew. A face that belonged. that knew where Laura worked, where Michael fixed cars, where their families lived, a face that blended in. Trust was the religion here. You left your keys in the truck, your door unlocked, your kids playing in the street till dark. The killer didn't just break into a place. They broke into a belief. The belief that your neighbor was your shield, that shared history meant safety, that the woods behind your house held only fireflies and memories. They poisoned that, turned every smile into a question, every wave into a doubt. It started small, whispers over fences. Did you hear? Rory Jensen skipped town right after. That trucker, logs seemed awful clean. David Houghton never did pay back that money. Did he? Then it grew. Frank Houghton wouldn't speak to his brother for a year. David's father, because the whispers touched his boy. Laura's mother, Diane, stopped going to the diner. Couldn't bear the booth where Laura used to sit. Couldn't look the cook in the eye. He'd joked once that Laura was too pretty for Michael. Was it a joke? Friendships cracked. The mechanic who worked next door to Michael's garage? He'd argued with Michael over a parking spot the week before. Loud, angry. He ever threatened Michael? People murmured. He lost customers, closed up shop, moved away, guilty, or just crushed by suspicion. No one knew. The town fractured, like ice on a pond, lines spreading, silent, deadly. You didn't know who to trust, so you trusted no one. Porch lights stayed on longer. Doors got deadbolts. Kids were called home before dusk. The easy laughter faded, replaced by watchful silence. Even now, 40 years later, the weight of it hangs in the air, thick, like humidity before a storm. Go into Earl's Hardware on Main Street. Old men stand by the nail bins, talking crops, talking weather. Then someone mentions Cedar Creek, or the old Houghton place. A pause. Voices drop. Not much, just enough. Eyes flick away. Shoulders tense. Terrible thing. Someone mumbles. Never solved. Another sighs, and the conversation shifts. Quickly, to the price of lumber, to the chance of rain, like walking past a grave you don't want to see. Why does it haunt? Because Michael and Laura aren't just gone. The innocence is gone. The simple act of watching a sunset by the river? Haunted. The sound of a pickup truck on a dirt road? Haunted. The trust in a familiar face? Shattered. We haunt ourselves with the questions. Was it someone we shared a beer with? Someone who sat at our table? Someone who cried at the funerals? The killer didn't just hide in the woods that night. They hid in plain sight, behind the everyday, the ordinary, behind the face of a neighbor, a cousin, a friend. That's the ghost. Not Michael, not Laura. It's the ghost of trust, murdered just as surely as they were, left out in the woods of our memory, unburied, unavenged. Every small town has a shadow, a story told in hushed tones, a name that makes the coffee cup pause halfway to the lips. For this town, it's the rustle of leaves at Cedar Creek on a Thursday evening. It's the empty space where laughter should be. It's the chilling truth. The monster wasn't under the bed. It was shaking your hand at the diner counter. And we still don't know its name. Time is the enemy. It fades memories. It rusts evidence. It steals away the people who might remember a face in the rain, a whispered threat, a muddy boot. 40 years is a long shadow. Witnesses grow old. Some pass on, taking fragments of that Thursday night with them. The physical evidence? That jacket with the bloodstain? Degraded, dusty. The boot print cast? A crumbling ghost of a shape. DNA? A fragile hope. Cells break down. Decades in a damp evidence room aren't kind. The science is better now. So much better. But sometimes time wins. Then, 2019, a name surfaces in an old sheriff's notebook. Evelyn Clark, retired secretary, packing up her attic, found a cardboard box, taped shut, labeled in faded ink, Houghton Sanders / miscellaneous. Not case files, not official evidence, personal effects, items returned to the families after the investigation, or so everyone thought. Evelyn had tucked them away, meant to give them back. Forgot. Life moved on, until the box came down from the attic. Inside, not weapons, not clues. Love, dozens of letters, folded notebook paper, greeting cards, post-it notes. Michael and Laura, passed between classes, left on windshields, slipped into lunchboxes, pages filled with ordinary dreams. Saw a yellow house for sale on Elm. Porch needs fixing, but imagine us there. Saved $18.75 this week. Stethoscope fund is growing. Heard a new Springsteen song. Made me think of you. Can't wait for Thursday. Sunset. You. Root beer. These weren't just words. They were breaths. Heartbeats. The future they painted in simple ink. Holding them, you could almost hear Laura's laugh. Smell the garage grease on Michael's hands. They didn't know October 17th was coming. They thought they had time. The letters did something. They didn't hold a fingerprint. They didn't name a killer. But they reminded everyone. These weren't just a case number. They were Michael. They were Laura. Real. Young. Hopeful. Their stolen future mattered. Still matters. It reignited the cold. Not a wildfire. A slow, stubborn burn. Laura's younger sister. Sarah, a grandmother now, saw the letters. Saw her sister's handwriting. The dreams for a life that never was. Enough, she said. She started a fund. Small donations. Bake sales. Anything. Test it all again. She demanded. Every scrap. With the best labs we can afford. So now, right now, while we speak, pieces of that denim jacket, snippets of fabric near the torn shoulder, in a sterile lab, under powerful lights, machines hum, scientists search, not just for blood type, for DNA, traces so small, they were invisible in 1984, invisible even in 2005, but technology keeps marching. The root beer cups, found melted in Michael's truck, paper pulp, stained, could saliva linger? After all this time? Hidden in the fibers? They're trying. The hair tie, the broken pink elastic found near the truck. Laura's hair? Or someone else's? Tangled in the snap? They're looking. It's a long shot. Everyone knows it. Sarah knows it. Degradation is real. Contamination is a thief. Hope isn't loud here. It's quiet, careful. A scientist peering into a microscope. A machine analyzing a million fragments of code. Waiting for a single, fragile match. But science isn't the only path. Truth hides in other places. Attics, basements, old shoeboxes, grandfathers who never spoke about that night, but maybe whispered on their deathbed. Mothers who kept diaries locked away, pages filled with suspicions they dared not say. A dusty box of photos, showing who else was near Cedar Creek that Thursday. An old argument overheard by a child, now grown, finally understanding what it meant. Small towns have long memories. And secrets? Secrets aren't buried as deep as bodies. They're tucked in drawers, hidden behind family photos, carried like a stone in the pocket for 40 years. They itch. They weigh. Sometimes they crack. So this is the ask. The simple, urgent plea, if you know something, a name, a rumor, a piece of a story that never fit. Something your father said once when he'd had too much to drink. Something your grandmother refused to talk about. A face you saw where it shouldn't have been. Speak. Not for fame, not for reward. For Michael. For Laura. For the yellow house on Elm Street they never got to paint. For the stethoscope Laura never got to wear. For the sunset they should have watched together 1,000 more times. Justice isn't just a courtroom. It's an answer. A name spoken aloud. A truth laid bare where lies have festered for decades. It's the weight finally lifted. The ghost finally named. The creek still flows. The trees still stand where they were found. Time hasn't erased them. And the search, however fragile, however quiet, it's not over. Not yet. Not while someone, somewhere still holds the key. Michael and Laura should have been grandparents by now. Instead, they're frozen in time, two kids who loved sunsets and each other. Their case isn't about clues. It's about the weight of unsaid words. The echo of a question. Who among us was capable of this? Maybe the answer's closer than we think. Maybe it's why. After all these years, this town still jumps at every knock on the door.